movie review, and today I'll be reviewing A Few Good Men. Story and play by Aaron Sorkin, directed by Rob Reiner, and was released in theaters on December 11th, 1992. And music by Mark Shaman, and starring Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Kevin Bacon, Kevin Pollak, if I say that right, Demi Moore, Kiefer Sutherland, and J.T. Walsh. And this is just a really great cast and a really great story of this legal drama film. And this is where it shows of this movie that Private William Santiago was found in his room dead. Well, he was beaten to the point where it led to his death. And that's because of Lance Corporal Harold Dawson and Private First Class Louden Downy went to his room, beat him up, put a rag in his throat, and pretty much tied him up with duct tape. And it went too far to the point where Santiago died, and he actually died drowning in his own blood. And of course, after this happened, that both Downy and Dawson were accused of Santiago of his murder. So this just leads to where at first we think maybe they are guilty, but it's not what it seems at first. And so Tom Cruise, a military lawyer, lieutenant, that he and Demi Moore, Lieutenant Commander JoAnne Galloway, they both go, they both try to defend for Dawson and Downy, but of course, so they're their attorneys. But of course, things take a different turn. But of course, Kevin Pollak, his character, also a military lawyer, works along with Tom Cruise and Demi Moore, so they're all trying to, it's their job to defend Dawson and Downy. But from what JoAnne believes is that she believes that what they had did was that they ordered a code red, and that they had followed that order. I don't know if you heard that, but if not, then never mind. So anyway, it gets very, the story gets, quite intense and just very dramatic. And of course, as we go along with the story, at first it makes us think that, okay, so maybe it was this, maybe they are guilty somehow of killing him, maybe it was their intention, because it might have looked like that at first, especially at the beginning. But after hearing what they were telling Kaffee and Galloway, is that they just simply followed an order and it went too far. But by the time they realized that he was bleeding from his mouth, that's when they pretty much untaped him. They removed the tape from him, but by that time it was too late. And I think that's when the paramedics, I think the ambulance came in, but that's when they were put under arrest. And of course, at some point they they had to go to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to speak with Colonel Nathan Jessup, Jack Nicholson, and to discuss with him about not only of Santiago and his death, but even Demi Moore. She was asking him questions about whether if code reds are still performed on the base. And of course, things get a little bit more tense, and as we go along with the story, that there's just things that, even though we seem to believe, okay, this might be what it looks like at first, but then as we go along, it's not that at all, but it turns out to be something different, and that's where we're leaving with, like, okay, now we want to know a little bit more. What exactly happened here? Were they really guilty of killing him? Was it really their intention, or did they just simply follow an order of a code red, especially a code red that went too far, where it led to Santiago's death, and they were pretty much found guilty for his murder, even though there was no intent of killing him, but simply they pretty much were beating him up and did what they did because it was extrajudicial. I hope I'm saying it right. It's an extrajudicial punishment, but something that's very illegal. And from what I know is that no one performs, well, they do perform that but they do that to beat someone up, to only toughen them up. I think so that way they could maybe focus on their training, on what they need to do, but that doesn't really make sense, because if you're beating someone up, I don't really think it's gonna really make that person toughen up and do what they need to do with their training on the base. I just think it's just, physical abuse, and it's just this very cruel punishment that no one deserves. And so it just went too far, to the point where now they're being questioned whether it was intentional or if this was an order that they followed, and it was simply that they followed an order of a code red. Because in the flashback scene, it shows where he is reading his letter, and J.T. Wells, who plays Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Markinson, he suggested for Santiago to transfer him off the base immediately. He didn't say soon, he didn't say next week, immediately. And I feel that that's very important to take note of. And of course, with Jack Nicholson, he does not agree. So instead, because since his rank is above his, that's why he suggested to keep him on the base to train him. But I think he meant train as in code red. And with that, he put Lieutenant Kendrick in charge, when actually I think Kendrick is actually Santiago's platoon. And so I think platoon officer, and so he pretty much, I think at some point, I don't think we see this, but I think some point later that day or later that night that he gave Kendrick the order of a code red, and that's when Lieutenant Kendrick gave the order of the code red to Dawson, and that's when Dawson gave the order to Downy too. So they both went to his room, beat him up, and put the rag in his throat, and taped him with duct tape, and that's when it went too far. But from what they said is that they only did what they did of simply following the order, but it was never their intent to kill him, but just simply to toughen him up, and that's pretty much all that was. And of course, as we get to a little bit more further to the movie, there's just some details and information that are quite important to take note of, and something that to really pay attention to, because it just seems to make a little bit more sense. And not only that, but at some point when it gets to the end, it gets, I would say, very intense when it comes to the very intense dramatic scene between Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. And that is the story of this movie, and I just want to say that I love this movie. It's actually one of my favorite movies. And I think the story is great. So the story is by Aaron Sorkin, and because when he came up with this story, it was based on a play. And so at some point they did make it into a movie, and that's this movie, the one that came out in 1992. And I think that they picked out this perfect cast for this movie, no doubt about it, especially with Tom Cruise as Lieutenant Danel Kaffee, and Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon, and Kiefer Sutherland, and Jack Nicholson as Colonel Nathan Jessup. I mean, there's no better choice for that role than Jack Nicholson, which, I think we can all agree on that, because he did an amazing job. Because even though he had like a few scenes in that movie, he still did an amazing job playing this very hated, very dislikable character, because he's the villain. And of course, none other than J.T. Walsh as well, because he was the perfect choice for the character as well. But the only thing I don't like is the part where at some point he takes his own life. So that's the only thing I don't like of the movie. And I definitely would actually change that. And I think what I would like to see better would be that he actually would go to court to testify against Jessup. And I would have loved to have seen that. I would. And I think certain things might have changed if that had happened. And I think maybe if it got to the point of putting Jack Nicholson's character into trouble, then hey, by all means, let's see that happen. But of course, unfortunately, we didn't get to see that, and so, yeah, I don't know, that's just something I would change, though. And yes, it is getting a bit dark, but I still have some light from outside. So yes, overall, the story is great. And like I said, maybe there might be a few things, maybe just little things here and there I would change, especially that scene that I had just mentioned, because I don't like that, and I think something could have done differently, and I think that would have been important to have seen his character testified him in court. And of course, I love the cast. They did an amazing job, and each one was just perfect for the role of the character that they played, and they all did amazing, whether if it's if they had a few scenes or not. Just the fact that they all did an amazing job, and I love their performances. And the music is great, especially when it comes to like the really dramatic, tense parts of it where you really feel like of what's going on, so you pretty much feel like the feeling of the situation, of what's going on, and that's what I love about it. And so yeah, I love the music, I love the way how it was shot, and I just love like the camera angles, and even to capture the expressions of the characters to show what they're feeling of what's going on. And yeah, I just pretty much love everything about this movie. And okay, let's see what else. But yeah, overall, I can't think of anything else, but I will say that for those who did an amazing job of their hard work both on screen and on screen and off screen, I applaud you, and you did all an amazing job, so thank you. I love this movie, and I actually want to watch it. I do. And not just because I'm reviewing it, but because the fact that I just feel like, what if there's some things that I probably didn't catch? Because that happens where if you watch something the first time, and believe me, it's not like I've seen this the first time recently, but knowing that I've seen this as many times before, but knowing that even if you do watch something again and again, there might be something that you might start to notice, So, yeah, I just kind of feel like I want to watch it again. And I think I'll do that. So, yes, I love everything about this movie, so that's my review on A Few Good Men. And to rate it, I would give it an A. I would definitely say a 9.8 out of 10. Let's see, I would give it a 90% and 4 stars. So that's my review and rating on A Few Good Men. And yes, I will be doing other videos on A Few Good Men as well. I will be doing a popcorn chat on it soon, and back in time watches, maybe a reaction video, but that I'm not sure. But if you want to see a reaction video to a scene, let me know. But I also did had another dream about it, so if you want to hear about that dream, of course I will do a dream video on that soon. So yeah, I will be doing that. So anyway, whoops. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this movie review. So, and let me know what you think about A Few Good Men. Out. Anyway, and for more movie content like this, subscribe and click on the bell so you'll be notified when I upload. And out. That's all for today, and I'll see you at the movies.